Hopefully I'm going to be preaching to the choir here, and all of you really know how to be responsible pet owners, but especially if you're looking for your first pet, or if maybe you're a person that has had pets but it hasn't turned out so great, then it'd probably be a really good idea to listen to these few pointers. It's important, first of all, that we all love pets. We want to have them in their lives. They're very important for us. They've been shown to help people as far as calming us and making us happier, being great companions for us. But there are things that need to be considered. And probably the first step is to think about the pet selection. What is your lifestyle? How much are you home? Where's that pet going to be when you're gone, when you're not at home? Who's going to take care of it if you have to be gone for a long time? How much exercise will a particular pet need? That's going to vary a lot given the type of pet you choose. In your household, do you have just adults? Do you have 1 or 2 adults? Do you have children? How many kids are in the household and how old are they? These are all factors that need to be taken into consideration. The other thing that I'll say is it's never a good idea to get a pet as a gift for someone else. That can sometimes have disastrous results for the people and the pet. So please don't do that unless you know that person is seeking a particular kind of pet and is ready at that given time. It's really not a good idea to do that. So there's a few things that need to also be considered once you get down to the point where you're pretty sure you're going to get a pet. One is, pets are really kind of a luxury, and people don't always think about the cost that's going to be incurred. So it's important to know that not everybody can afford a pet, or maybe just at this particular point in time, it's not a good idea for you, and you would be able to have a happier situation down the road a little ways. Anyway, the average cost of pet ownership can range about $300 to $2,500 a year. So be aware of that. Sometimes the first year is more expensive if you get a puppy or kitten, because of course you're going to have spaying and neutering and introductory vaccines and things like that. But over the lifetime of a pet, you could spend anywhere from $4,000 to $32,000 on a pet that only lives to be 12, and realize that some pets live to be longer than that. So they can be an expensive venture, and it's important to know that. And this is, of course, taking into consideration everything that you might need, whether it's food, toys, grooming, boarding someplace, going to the vet, all those things. So there are a number of factors, and that's why there's such a long range there. But you always want to make sure that, of course, part of that big cost is veterinary care, and I've done another one on veterinary care where you get to know all the things that may need to be done. And sometimes people get puppies or kittens or adult dogs and never take them to the vet, and that can have some bad consequences. So bottom line, you'll be spaying and neutering, preventive care such as annual examinations and vaccinations, routine care such as dental care, minor problems that might arise, and then of course urgent care situations or emergencies. So once you decide you're definitely ready for a pet, you got to decide you want a cat or a dog or some kind of an exotic pet, maybe a snake or a hedgehog or a hamster or something. So when you come to that decision, you want to consider what kind of age you want in your pet, what kind of breed you might want, how active that pet is going to be, what kind of grooming they may require. I think it's very important to think about these things. If you live in a small apartment, you don't necessarily want to get a hunting dog. So, those things need to be considered. Also, do you want to get a purebred versus a mixed breed? So, as we know, we mentioned breed before, but there's a lot of mutts that look like certain breeds, or there's a lot of mutts that have great temperaments compared to some purebreds. And so you've got to think about that part. Most purebreds, of course, are going to cost more, and you're going to have to seek them out. If you get a purebred, you need to think about, is it going to be from a breeder or a pet store? And sometimes you can even get purebreds in shelters or from rescue groups. So you have to put some thought into where you're going to get the pet. Probably the Walmart parking lot isn't the best idea. Sometimes that works out, but those are usually spur-of-the-moment decisions. And so you want to make sure that you're thinking this out instead of just bringing a puppy home or a kitten home. Advantages of adoption or pets from rescues. I think it's important to think about that it's a good way to consider placing a pet that needs a home. Usually those pets are already spayed or neutered. There are very few shelters that let a pet out these days without being spayed or neutered. You're going to prevent a potential euthanasia for a pet and also make room for a new pet to come into a shelter that might be overfilled. And there are some limited admission shelters that are sometimes referred to as no-kill shelters. Realize that those shelters, the reason they can not euthanize pets is that they can only take a limited number of pets. So we need to make sure that you're helping out that situation and that you can hopefully take a pet and allow a space for another one. Another thing on the shelters is realize when they use that terminology of no-kill, that doesn't mean that the other shelters want to kill animals. Unfortunately, there has to be a resource in a community for pets to go to, and this is only absolutely necessary when they have to euthanize these pets because they don't have homes for them. So again, the pet overpopulation is a huge problem. Spay or neuter your pet. Consider an adoption of an older pet that might be in a rescue or shelter. And remember that 6 to 8 million pets enter shelters every year. It's a lot of pets. 4 million of those dogs and cats are killed or euthanized in a shelter. So it's really important to think about trying to save some of those pets. Return rates on pets in shelters, the number of dogs that are returned to owners is about 25%. That other 70%, don't get back to their owners. And 2% with cats, which is abysmal. It's really sad that people don't come looking for their cats. So just be aware, that shelter system's there. We want to try to prevent pet overpopulation. We want you to be reunited with your pet, so be sure you know how to look for your pet and try to get your pet microchipped